Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome back to another episode of Talking Halos. I am your host today, Jared Timms, and I am joined alongside my co-host, my partner in crime, Nate Green. How you doing?
I'm not doing too bad, Jared. How about yourself?
Not doing too bad. Just you and me and you, both of us together. What do you got on that? It's a little Monsters Inc. quote for you. I'm a big Disney guy. Love the Disney movie.
That's a good one.
It's a good one. Good one. So, Nate, as always, I like to start this show off with a question, and I feel like we've talked about this before, and you are not for it, but I got to ask it again, since it is Olympic time, and I don't think either one of us care about the politics involved with the Olympics and such like that. Olympics are cool, fantastic. It's great to watch it, even though it's halfway around the world, and we don't get to really see it live until weird times. But when it comes to the Olympics, would you like to see Major League Baseball take a break every 4 years? I've got to ask you again because it would be unbelievable to watch the USA and the Dominican Republic and Venezuela, Mexico, and Japan, and what else you got? Korea, just to name a few. Australia would probably be in there as well. Just go head to head with the world's best players, and it just not really matter. I'd love to see Mike Trout be an Olympic. I know a lot of players would probably like to be in the Olympics as well when it comes down to it. I know with the NHL, that's a big thing. It's a huge thing in the NHL, like it doesn't get better than that for those guys. So I don't know. I know your thoughts. I think I know your thoughts on this, but let's hear them.
Yes, I think you do know my thoughts, and I think that there's no point to do it because we do play the World Baseball Classic, and it is the exact same thing as the Olympics. So if those guys want to wear the stars and stripes, if they want to wear the Dominican colors, whatever it is, they can play in the World Baseball Classic. It is the exact same thing, and that is the reason we came out with the World Baseball Classic, so that way they could play in something for their country. Right now they could stop for I guess the Olympics every 4 years, but what's the point? Like, what would the significance of playing the World Baseball Classic have at that point?
You could go to the World Baseball Classic every 2 year or every 4 years, but the 2 years in between the Olympics, so you get that good mix of players in as well. And then you could go to the Olympics. Come on, it's the Olympics. Like, that's something as a kid you have to be like, winning the Olympics is unbelievable. Winning something in the Olympics. So I don't know. I know that you don't like it. I just think it's something that needs to be thought about a little bit more. I know it's probably never going to happen, but I think it would be cool. I think it would be awesome to see Mike Trout in the Olympics. I think it would be, I think it brings a little bit more to the table if you give them the time off to do it. You give them 3 weeks to go play in that type of thing. You need some incentives involved. So they're not just taking time off, but I think it would be pretty cool.
What's the difference between them playing in the Olympics and the World Baseball Classic? Like, Mike Trout has had every opportunity to play in that. He's been offered multiple times. Why give him a chance to play in the Olympics if he doesn't want to play in the World Baseball Classic?
Incentivize the Olympics.
Couldn't they just incentivize the World Baseball Classic and make sure? I mean, the Dominican does a really good job. The Dominican roster is always loaded. Like, Team USA's roster.
That's because it's a pride thing, though.
We've
talked about this a lot with the pride and the islands and such like that. And Venezuela is the same thing. Mexico's kind of the same thing in a sense. Bahamas, it's a pride thing. It really, really is. And it's just not. I don't want to say there's no pride here and such like that because that's going to get completely misconstrued. But I think it's definitely a pride thing. Like, these guys, like, you look at Big Papi, you look at Vladdy, you look at those guys from the Dominican. Roberto Clemente is another fantastic example of that. Like, these guys are cherished in their cities, and it's just not that way up here. So I think that's why. I think you need to definitely incentivize the World Baseball Classic a little more.
I was going to say, couldn't you just incentivize the World Baseball Classic and then you have the exact same thing? You're not taking away from the kids. It gives the kids a real opportunity too, which I think is really cool. It gives the 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old kids who maybe are playing in college or maybe are playing in the minor leagues to go and represent their country. And, they still got silver this last year?
Because they had a bunch of 4A guys. I mean, it was John Jay was on the team. I mean, like, you're not even picking some of the best minor. Like,
but they still got
go pick
silver.
some of the best minor leaguers. Like, Adley Rushman should have been in it. Go get some of the best minor leaguers. Again, it's just not it's not incentivized at all. Like you
I
need
know.
some incentive to go play in these things.
Yeah. So I think like Shin Chu Chu has one of the best incentivized things. It was play or come fight for your country, and he got out of it by winning. So I don't think we need to go that far, but I think it's something where, hey, if you win, you get extra money, or you win, you get there's something where the players are going to want to play, because that's been the one thing that I've always dreamed about with the World Baseball Classic, is seeing Mike Trout, Bryce Harper, Mookie Betts, Corey Seager, all these guys that are elite. Freddie Freeman at first,
Another shortstop at second base.
Buster
Anthony
Posey.
Rendon at third base. Yeah, no, 100%. I get what you're saying.
You have Arenado, you have Rendon. Like they could legit be stupid if they want to. Max Scherzer on the mound, Clayton Kershaw on the mound. Like you could load the roster with 15 guys and just tell the starters, hey, we're only asking you to go 2 or 3 innings.
Throw bullpens out there.
Yeah, we don't need you to go 7 innings like some of these aces are having to do. But could you imagine a rotation where the Americans are running out DeGrom, Scherzer, Prime Kershaw? This was a couple years ago.
Shane Bieber.
Bieber would be in there. Verlander could be in there depending on how he recovers. Nola could be in there. There's a bunch of guys that they could go get, and it would be stupid to see how good that roster could really be. And oh man, that's something that I've always thought would be awesome. And so, yeah, I don't think we need the Olympics for that. We just need to make sure the guys play in the World Baseball Classic and make it fun for them.
Incentivize it. Find a way to incentivize. I mean, though you look at it, didn't Jeter played for team. Jeter did it that back.
David Wright did it. Adam Jones did it. They had a solid team. Ben Zobrist played in it. I'm not saying that they didn't have a solid team, but there were not any of the dudes, the elite of the elite playing. David Wright, a really good player, not a top 5 player in baseball at the time. How cool would it be to say hey, the top 5, top 10 players in baseball are all playing for Team USA? Because you look, and out of the top 10, half of them could be considered USA players. So they could really have a loaded roster, and instead of playing a Japan team, who it is a big pride thing for them to load up that roster, and a big pride thing for the Dominicans to load up that roster. And we're playing with, probably our second or third best players at each position. It's we could really make a run at it where it's wow, this would be fun to see Harper, Trout, and Betts in the same outfield for, a couple of weeks.
Absolutely. I just figured we get that. Okay, so our conclusion to this is, and so I don't have to ask it again, incentivize the World Baseball Classic so we see it. I'd love to see that. I think that Major League Baseball should step up and incentivize it to find a way, because, I've said this story 10 or 15 times. Went to the World Baseball Classic. Unbelievable.
So much fun.
So much fun. And the crowds were crazy. Went to the USA game. That was unbelievable. In Petco. Went to the Dominican against the Venezuela game down in San Diego as well. And I think it was half filled, and it was the loudest crowd that I've ever heard. It was unbelievable. Drums, just so much fun. So yeah, I think it needs to be incentivized. I think we can come to that conclusion. I don't think I ever need to ask this question again, even though I probably will in 2 years if we're still doing Talking Halos. So guys, as always, thank you so much for listening and watching this podcast. Last two podcasts on YouTube absolutely crushed it. I think I need to name more stuff about Shohei Ohtani. I think we need to talk about Shohei Ohtani a little bit more.
Yeah.
But regardless, thanks so much for all the support, guys, whether it's on YouTube or Apple, Spotify, wherever you're listening to this. Thank you so much for giving us support. We really do appreciate it. Throwing the questions out there again, really do appreciate it. If you could leave us a review, subscribe wherever you're listening as well. You can leave us that review as well, whether it's good or bad, make us get better or worse, whatever you guys would like to do. Again, join the takeover. We are taking over. I've been saying this for a while. The guests are rolling in. I promise you. Nate gave me 3 names, and we are going to get them. I'm going to get them. We're going to get some fun guests on here in the coming days and weeks. One of those guests includes John Crane. I'm just kidding. He's the norm. But guys, just thank you so much again for listening. You could follow myself at Jared_Tims. You can follow Nate at NateGreen34, Brock at BDROX, and John at Jegs Crane John. And again, hopefully we'll be getting Derek back soon. A happy Derek, a Super Bowl winning Derek as well. That'll be a lot of fun. So yeah, Nate, let's get this podcast rolling a little bit more. We're going to kind of make this a little bit shorter. Today we're going to test it out and see how this works. But one question, actually one comment, Fangraphs came out with their top, I don't know if they were their top, but their predictions for 2022. Granted, there are still a lot of free agents out there, and this is going to change over the next little while, but the Angels are at a, and I will quote you on this, lazy 81-81 by Fangraphs. We know that a human does not pick these numbers, the computer does it all, but 81-81 seems like a very lazy yet very Angels way to go for it. So, Nate, will the Angels be finishing 81-81 like Fangraphs projects?
Probably not. I feel like they project this every year. Was it the last three?
They projected 90 wins a couple years. So
I know, but it feels like the last couple of years. It's 81-81, 80-82, 82-80. Like they're always right around 500. Right now, this roster is under 500. There's way too many question marks in the rotation. There's way too many question marks offensively. I know I'm going to get absolutely hammered because I'm saying that there are question marks offensively, but I mean, we don't have a shortstop right now. Fletcher, he's got to pick it up a little bit. I would like to see his walk rate go up a little bit. I love his strikeout rate is low, but I would love to see the walkout rate go up a little bit. Walsh, we need to see him continue to make progress. He had a really good 2020, a pretty good 2021, an all-star year. Now we got to see him take that next step. And then we have a bunch of young kids. We got Joe Adell, we got Brandon Marsh. Can they be everyday guys? I think so. I know a lot of people think they can be, but they've got to prove it this year. And right now, there's just way too many question marks. Syndergaard has thrown 3 innings in the last 2 years. I think Noah Syndergaard is going to be great, but how long will it take Syndergaard? This lockout could actually help Syndergaard because it might allow him to be healthy day one instead of, he's pretty much healthy, but he needs a couple extra weeks or something like that. That's the biggest concern with him. Michael Lorenzen's going to take a little bit of time to stretch out to be a starter. I'm sure he's working on that this offseason, but it's still something he has not done in a long time. And, of course, you've got the question marks all the way around with, is Sandoval going to be is he going to take that next step? Is Reed Detmer's going to step up? So very, very question mark filled team right now. I think going to get a shortstop for sure makes this team a lot better, and it helps the pitching staff a lot because I don't think fans think about that much, that a really good shortstop who can pick it really helps the pitching staff. Like, I know we hound on the pitching staff and how average to below average it's been, but I mean, when your shortstop, who is supposed to be the captain of the infield, is supposed to be your guy who can pick it, is making 15, 17, 19 errors a year, it is very tough. And it also doesn't help when they have no range and they don't take away hits. So that's something that you're able to see from some of these teams that are in the playoffs. I mean, Tim Anderson takes away hits. He's a very good shortstop. They're in the playoffs. The Dodgers, Seager has played a really good shortstop, and they've been in the playoffs for that. Trey Turner now with the Dodgers, he is a really good shortstop. So you just look at the teams and you look at where they're stacked. They're usually stacked defensively up the middle, and the corners they usually can rake. And, that's kind of the thing with the Angels is they haven't been as good up the middle as we have hoped.
Are you saying that Justin Upton doesn't rake?
No. I can't say that because what month is it?
I'm kidding. Yeah, I know. Inconsistency. I know. No, 100%. You're totally right. Like, there is no reason, and I'm on this train now. I'm on the train. There's no reason to think that the Angels will be good. Like, and I know this is news to you.
This
and
is news.
I'll always be optimistic. I think this team is good. I think this team has the ability to be really freaking good. I think a lot of people know this team has the ability to be really freaking good. When you have Mike Trout, Shohei Ohtani, Anthony Rendon, Noah Syndergaard, Shohei Ohtani, the pitcher, Raisel Iglesias, one of the best, if not the best closers in baseball. Aaron Loop, one of the best left-handed relievers in baseball, if not the best left-handed reliever in baseball. The makings are there. The bones are there to be a good team. We know that. 100%. Like there's no denying that this team can be really freaking good. It's now if those question marks become a real thing. Like, can you check those question marks off? Like what is Syndergaard? You mentioned them all. What is Syndergaard this year? Is he healthy? He has pitched 3 innings in the past 2 years. You don't know that. Will Shohei Ohtani continue to be healthy? We saw a down, a decreasing second half on the offensive side of things for Ohtani. What is Jared Walsh? We saw a second half where he decreased a little bit. What is Justin Upton? I have to bring that into it. I understand that we don't like Justin Upton.
You said Justin Upton's elite.
Okay, now you're putting stuff into my mouth that is not true.
That one was on purpose. That one was just for Jared.
I mean, you go position to position. Max Stassi, what is he going to give the Angels? Hopefully 82 games, hopefully half a season, right? The Angels have nobody, and I absolutely mean nobody, that will back him up right now, correct? Is it Chad Wallach? It's Chad Wallach right now.
Taylor Ward, Matt Thaiss. Ward,
maybe.
One of those Matt 4.
Thaiss. But though after Max Stassi, who is an elite catcher, correct? He's
correct.
Elite catcher. There's nobody to back him up. There's nobody there, and we know the hip injury is there. Nate, you've mentioned this 1,000 times. The hip injury is there, and you hope that you get 82 games out of him. 100 games would be an amazing season from him. You hope you get 82 games out of him. You go to first base. There's a lot of Jared Walsh. What is he? Do you platoon him with Justin Upton at first base next year? Do you platoon him with Taylor Ward? Do you platoon him with somebody? Because he did not hit lefties very well. Granted, you only see 50 lefties a season, correct, starting-wise? But you get what I'm saying, though, right? Like you have to think about platooning him.
It's a big deal.
You have to think about platooning him. David Fletcher coming off the worst defensive season of his career, even though he is an elite defender. We saw him get extremely hot during the middle of the season last year, and then like he was slow, took off, was unbelievable for a 40-game stretch or something like that, and then dropped off. If there's a ball hit to shortstop right now, there is nobody there to field it. There honestly is not. If you think this team is going to be a championship caliber team this year, there is nobody there to field it because we put Luis Renifo there. He is not. You do not want him there on a championship team. Brennan Davis, the same thing. You hope that Brennan Davis is going to be good. He had a fantastic year in the minors. That was in the minors. Again, you don't know what he is defensively. Tyler Wade, I have all the trust that he will be a fantastic fifth infielder for the Angels or outfielder if he chooses to do so. Andrew Velasquez, same thing. I have all the faith in the world of him being a fantastic fifth infielder or a fourth outfielder. I don't think that either one of those guys can take up any space. Same thing with Luis Renifo. I think he could be a fantastic fifth infielder, and that is where I have stood. I think that he can be a very good fifth infielder. I think he could be a very good starting second baseman. He is not a shortstop. So at the moment, there is not a shortstop for the Angels right now. They need a shortstop. Anthony Rendon, question marks. What is he doing? He is coming off hip surgery. That's a huge question mark. You don't know what Anthony Rendon is going to do. Left field. Who's playing left field? Is it Justin Upton? Is it Joe Adell? Is it Brandon Marsh? Is it Mike Trout? Is it Tyler Wade? Is it Is it Taylor Ward? Is it you don't know who's playing left field at the moment. That is a huge question mark. What is Justin Upton? What is he at the end of the day? Is he going to be that inconsistent player we saw with the Tigers in the beginning of his Angels career? Because if that's what you get out of Justin Upton, I am perfectly fine with that. That is a check mark in my book. If he is what he was, but he's getting older. He can't play defense very well. Like what is Justin Upton? You go to center field, Mike Trout coming off an injury. He's a year older. I have no doubt that Mike Trout will be Mike Trout if he's healthy, but there have been some injuries. That's another question mark, 100%. But if Mike Trout is healthy, he is Mike Trout. You cannot doubt him, 100%. You look in right field. Is it Brandon Marsh? Is it Joe Adell? Who is in right field? Is it Taylor Ward? Those are a lot of question marks. And that was just going around the infield. I literally just the starting rotation. Noah Syndergaard, that's a huge question mark. We just went over it. He's pitched 3 innings over the past 2 years. Shohei Ohtani, you're hoping to get 150 innings out of him, correct? Hoping is a good thing. Hoping to get 150 innings. The number 3 starter, Patrick Sandoval, you're hoping to get 120 innings out of him, correct?
Yeah, and he's coming off one of the best second halves you could have.
I trust him.
But you've seen him at his best and you've seen him at his worst. You have to see him make a step forward. He's got to improve. There's no he's got to stay how good he was last year. No, he has to get better.
Baseball is a game of adjustments. Mike Trout has done it. Jared Walsh has done it. So I think Jared Walsh, I'm not too worried on the Jared Walsh standpoint, except for against lefties. I think that there could definitely be some type of platoon situation there with Jared Walsh, and that would make me happy. But I do have faith because we've seen the adjustments with Jared Walsh. He was an all-star last year. He had a fantastic season last year. But against lefties, that worries me for Jared Walsh. Now let's go back to the starting rotation. Michael Lorenzen is not a starter. For all intents and purposes, Michael Lorenzen is not a starter. So there is a big question mark there. You go to number 5 spot. Who is the number 5 guy right now? Is it Reed Detmers? Is it Sam Bachman?
It's Jose Suarez, I guess.
Oh, okay, fine. I was going to put him
yeah, but according to all the reports, he's probably the 5 guy, and then the 6 is probably Reed Detmers, Jaime Barria, or Sam Bachman.
You still put a question mark on Suarez. You know, he had a fantastic season. But, like, if all this stuff plays out, again, moral of the story, moral of my whole rant here, if all this stuff plays out, this team is a championship caliber team. But
without a shortstop.
But we just went position by position, and every single one is a question mark. Every single player on this team is a question mark at the moment. Right? Like, I mean, is it that? I think that's fair to say. And I am not trying to sugarcoat, I'm not trying to make it sound bad, but, like, every single player on this team is a question mark at the moment until proven otherwise. Like, even Mike Trout's a question mark because of the injuries. He missed 100 games last year. Okay, he missed about 100. He missed 100.
Yeah, I think he missed. I think he played 60 or 61 games.
Yeah. He missed 100 games last year. Anthony Rendon missed 120 games last year. Shohei Ohtani played 161 games last year. Like, that is a lot on a player. The bullpen, volatile. We didn't even talk about the bullpen. Any bullpen can be volatile. I don't care whose bullpen it is. I don't care how good they are. We've seen the Yankees on paper have one of the best bullpens in baseball, and it was like, what in the world has happened to this Yankee team that had the best closer in baseball in Aroldis Chapman, the best setup man in baseball in Dylan Betances. They brought on David Robertson that one year. I mean, the Yankees just continue to produce, but on the other side of things, I'm with you at the moment, Nate. Like, as weird as it sounds, it's tough. You know, it's tough to say this team is any more than an 81 win team. But if the question marks pan out, they are a championship caliber team. Is that fair to say?
They need a shortstop before. Like, I mean, the question marks could. I mean, yeah, but all the question marks can go away. But if they don't get a shortstop, it is going to be very hard to win a World Series. And you look at it, I was just even looking at the teams that are projected to make the playoffs, projected to be World Series contenders. You know, you look at the Dodgers. How many question marks they got?
Well, no, let's go first place teams, all projected by Fangraphs, and let's talk about their shortstops. The Dodgers, who's their shortstop?
They got Trey Turner, one of the best shortstops in baseball.
The Cardinals. The Cardinals are the only ones that it's like, well,
but at least he can pick it.
Oh, 100%. But
at least he can pick it. 100%. Like, I don't care how you hit. Like, you've got to be able to pick it. And all the shortstops that we're talking about, you know, Luis Rengifo, we're talking about Tyler Wade, guys like that. It's like, what have they played? 45 games at shortstop in their career? It's a question mark. You know, like Paul DeJong, the only thing that you're worried about is, can the guy hit? And if you're hitting 8th in a lineup that is filled with Paul Goldschmidt, Nolan Arenado, and guys like that, Harrison Bader, I don't care what you hit. You 100%. Can hit 220 as long as you pick it.
And to this point, 100% to your point, the Angels could go get Nick Ahmed, who's one of the worst offensive shortstops in baseball, like Max Stassi type of thing. You know, like one of the worst offensive guys. Though Stassi had a good year last year on the bat side of things, on the offensive side of things. But yeah, no, 100%. You can go put Nick Ahmed. You can go like Paul DeJong. I think he is a fantastic option because I think the Cardinals have one of those young kids. I can't remember his name, but the Cardinals are always bringing guys in. But the Cardinals did have somebody. So Paul DeJong could be.
They had Sosa, who's like 23, 24. But they also talked about going to get Trevor Story and just saying screw it.
Oh, yeah. No, 100%. Like, again, you look at the Cardinals, shortstop, the Braves.
Yeah, Dansby Swanson, again, not elite offensively, but one of the best shortstops in baseball from a defensive standpoint. And even the Brewers, who are one game behind the Cardinals, Willy Adames, who I was preaching all last year, Angels, go get Willy Adames. He is very easy to go get. The Rays had, you know, one of the top prospects in baseball who's a shortstop. Go get him. And he turned to be the difference maker for the Milwaukee Brewers last year. That guy is one of the best defensive shortstops. And
again, 2 shortstops. You look at the first move that Billy made. Go get Andrelton Simmons, shortstop. Look at the first move that Perry even made. Jose Iglesias, another shortstop. You need to go get a shortstop, 100%. I mean, and to continue with the trend of shortstops, the Astros. I mean, maybe Carlos Correa, but you could put Bregman there. Bregman probably starts at shortstop. The White Sox, Tim Anderson.
The
Yankees, like
100%. Yeah, They got multiple guys to put at shortstop who are better than what the Angels are running out there. They could go Gleyber Torres. They could go Gio Urshela. They could go get a Trevor Story. And also they have two of the best young shortstops in the game in AAA and AA, and Anthony Volpe, and I'm blanking on the other guy's name. I'm sure you probably remember it, but those two guys are very, very close to being big leaguers. They're a year and a half away, and that team is going to be loaded.
And I mean, you go around the league too. You want to go around the leagues and teams that are better than the Angels. Statistically speaking, the Blue Jays, their entire infield is shortstops.
Bichette.
Their entire infield is shortstops, minus Vladdy. The Rays, their entire infield can probably play shortstop, but they have Wander Franco.
Yep.
The Red Sox,
Xander Bogaerts.
The Mets, their entire infield is shortstops.
Yep.
Let's see. We're going to go down. The Brewers, you mentioned.
Yep.
The Astros, you mentioned before as well. Even the Mariners, J.P. Crawford. The Rangers, who are projected a 73-win team. Corey Seager, they went out and got a shortstop.
Two.
The Padres.
The Padres. They went out and got two shortstops, bro.
Yeah, 100%. The Padres, projected to be a 90-win team. You can put anybody you want a shortstop for that team.
Tatis, Jake Cronenworth, Kim, Profar. They have multiple guys.
100%. Brandon Crawford down in up in San Francisco. You go around the league and it starts with a shortstop. That's 110% what the Angels need right now. And if you're overpaying for a position and it's not a pitcher, it's got to be a shortstop. So I think moral of the story. Nate, before we let everybody go, any final thoughts? Thank you for listening. I'll start off. Thank you for listening to us complain this whole podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed this one.
Yeah, I just thought it was interesting to see where the Rangers were in the standings. They're projecting it last. Oakland supposedly is going to sell, so I figured they would be in the cellar, and Texas might move up with all their moves that they've made. Crazy that people are going to second guess Farhan Zahidi, the Giants guy, the Giants general manager. He has done wonders everywhere he's been. Tampa Bay, the Dodgers, and now the Giants. They're gonna have questions about what the Giants are going to do. Somehow the Giants are going to be right up near the top of the division and a possible playoff team. And I'm always a big skeptical guy on the Mets. The Mets are the National League version of the Angels, in my opinion. A lot of high-profile guys. I know you look at me like that, and we always talk about this, and you always disagree with me, and then I talk to you, and you kind of agree with me. So a lot of high-profile guys, the best player at their position, just like, the Angels have Mike Trout. They have Jacob deGrom. A lot of question marks. A lot of overpaid guys there, too. Big contracts. So are they going to be able to come together as a team and play together? So I don't know. I just think it was interesting to see what Fangraphs came out with right now, especially with all the incredible free agents we have left.
They have an owner that wants to win.
Yeah, that's still. Well, Artie Moreno has spent money.
No, that's not what I'm saying, though.
He wants to win.
They have an owner that does not want to make money. They have an owner that wants to win. And that's the problem with a lot of teams. It's not just the Angels. And I understand that this is a business, but you also have, a baseball team. Yes, it's an investment, but it's not necessarily to make money, I don't think. I think, it is, in a sense. You can definitely make money off of it, but it should not be your primary source of income if you are that much, if you are that rich, I think the job is supposed to be to win. And I think that's why we're on a lockout. So if I could say anything about these projected standings, the Red Sox, of course, I think that's our sleeper team, like always. The Tigers, watch out for them. I think, don't sleep on them. The Royals, another team, I think just don't sleep on them. They could be a fairly good team. The Rangers, oddly enough, I feel like you just can't sleep on them yet. That ballpark, with any pitcher can be good. Plus that offense that they're going to have. That's a scary team. That is a scary team. The Mariners, we saw they were a 90-win team last year. You never know what they're going to be. The Padres, the Giants, you mentioned it. Don't blink on that. If they an 81-win team, I just don't see that happening. And then the Phillies, don't sleep on the Phillies. I feel like that's been the Angels of the National League. I know that you're gonna again disagree.
It's the Mets,
but I know you think it's the Mets. But you look at the Phillies, it's Bryce Harper. It's built around Bryce Harper. They haven't had pitching. They've had some pitching. They went and got some pitching, and it just hasn't seemed to work out for them in a sense. So, Nate, I know you want to disagree with me and continue to argue, but let's let everybody go here. So, guys, thank you so much for listening to this podcast here at Talking Halos, making us the best podcast out there. Again, guys, stay tuned for some guests. We have it in the works. I promise you there are a lot of guests in the works right now. So stay looking out for that one. I'm super excited for all that. If you could subscribe, press the subscribe button. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify or Apple, you can follow myself on Twitter, Jared_Timms. You can follow Nate at NateGreen34, guys. And thank you so much for listening. Have a great rest of your day.